Okay, if I put you on the spot right now and asked you for just one word to describe Amazon's strategy, what comes to mind?
Hmm.
I feel like for 99% of people, the answer is just scale.
Right. Scale. That's what everyone says.
It's the sheer crushing size of it all.
Hmm.
The warehouses, the blue jets, the revenue chart that just goes straight up. We think of them as this
Hmm.
Godzilla of capitalism,
Hmm.
just winning because they're bigger than everyone else.
And that's the standard narrative. It's the visible part of the iceberg. But if we stop there, if we just assume they win because they're huge, we're missing the actual mechanism.
So it's not the right way to look at it.
Relying on scale to explain Amazon is almost lazy analysis at this point. Scale is the result of the strategy, not the strategy itself.
Okay, so if it's not scale, what is it? Because today we're diving into this really heavy piece of analysis called the Amazon Substitution, redesigning market power centers.
Great title.
And its core thesis is a total pivot from what I usually think. It argues Amazon doesn't just want to be the biggest player in a market. The real goal is substitution.
Right. And we need to be really precise about what substitution means here. It is not just a fancy synonym for competition.
Okay.
Usually, companies compete to beat you. Ford wants to sell more cars than Chevy. Substitution is different. It's not about beating the other players. It's about replacing the environment they all operate in.
That sounds systemic.
Yes.
Like they aren't just playing the game, they're building the stadium.
Exactly. The source argues that Amazon systematically identifies the critical layers of an industry, retail, logistics, tech, even trust, and then substitutes their own infrastructure for the existing market standards.
They don't want to win the game. They want to redesign the board so every other player has to pay them rent just to roll the dice.
That's a perfect way to put it.
It's a terrifying distinction. It's the difference between a gladiator and the guy who owns the Colosseum. So today we're going to peel back 6 specific layers where this substitution has happened. We'll look at retail, publishing, the cloud.
Logistics, advertising, and trust itself. And we absolutely have to talk about the future, too, because the analysis ends on their newest frontier, AI, where they are running this exact same playbook right now.
All right, let's get into the machinery. Layer 1, retail. This is the one we all interact with every day, the store. I remember the early days, Jeff Bezos, a garage, selling books. They were just a retailer. They bought stuff and they sold it to me.
Correct. At the start, Amazon was a classic pipeline business, but the big pivot happened when they opened the marketplace. They invited third-party sellers, competitors, really, to sell on their own platform.
Which, on the surface, feels like a massive win for the little guy, right? Suddenly, a small shop in Mumbai has access to the same customers as Sony or Nike.
That is the illusion of reach the source talks about. And it's a brilliant trap. Yes, you get access to millions of Prime members, but look at the cost. The source calls this shift dependent infrastructure.
Dependent infrastructure. Okay, let's drill into that. What are these sellers actually giving up? They're making sales.
They're giving up autonomy, complete autonomy. Think about it. When a seller moves to the marketplace, Amazon controls the search ranking, which determines if you even exist.
Right.
They control pricing visibility, the famous buy box. They increasingly control fulfillment via FBA. And they control the advertising.
So if I'm a seller, I might be moving 1 million units, but I don't own the customer relationship.
You don't own the customer, you don't own the data, and you don't own the logistics. You've been substituted. In the old model, a retailer was an independent actor. Now, the retailer is a user of Amazon's infrastructure. You aren't really running a business, you're just feeding their machine.
And the data part is the kicker, isn't it? Because Amazon sees everything that sells.
Exactly. This is the classic complaint. If your new spatula starts selling like crazy, Amazon's algorithm sees that demand instantly.
And they can just make their own.
They can spin up an Amazon Basics version, price it lower, and put it right above yours in the search results. They own the environment, so they can arbitrage your success.
It's like playing poker, where the dealer can look at your cards and then charge you for sitting at the table.
A fee for everything.
Okay, so that's retail. They substituted the independent shop with a platform dependent. Let's move to layer 2 and 3, because this is where it shifts from physical goods to information and tech. Let's do publishing first. Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP.
A classic example of how the public narrative differs from the structural reality. The narrative around KDP was all liberation.
Oh, I remember. Gatekeepers. That was the buzzword.
Yeah.
You don't need some snobby editor in Manhattan anymore. Just upload your novel to Kindle and find your audience.
And to be fair, that did happen for some people. But the source argues this wasn't true democratization, it was replatforming.
Replatforming. So the control didn't disappear, it just moved.
Precisely. Originally, publishers controlled distribution. They had relationships with the big bookstores. Amazon substituted that entire complex network with a single algorithm.
So now Amazon is the sole intermediary.
Between the creator and the reader, they substituted the big five publishers with one big algorithm. And if you're an author today, you are structurally dependent on KDP to eat. If Amazon changes the payout rate or bans your account,
You don't just lose a retailer, you lose the entire market.
you're gone.
Which brings us to layer 3. If publishing is the software of culture, this next one is the hardware of the internet. The cloud, AWS.
This is probably the most profitable substitution in business history. It's where they substituted the very foundation of how companies are built.
Yeah, I think people forget how hard it used to be to start a tech company. You needed a server room. You needed AC units, racks, blinking lights.
Capital expenditure, or CapEx. You had to spend a fortune upfront before you signed a single customer. You owned your compute. AWS changed that model completely. They abstracted the entire IT stack.
Abstracted it.
They made it invisible. Instead of buying servers, you rent computing power by the second. You subscribe to it.
It turned technology into a utility bill, like paying for water.
Exactly. And that shift is the substitution. They substituted capital expenditure with operational dependence. Companies stopped owning their tech backbone and started renting it from Amazon.
But hold on, isn't that just better?
Mm.
It's cheaper, faster, more efficient. Why is this a trap?
It is better in the short term. That's why everyone does it. But look at the long-term implication. A huge chunk of the modern internet, including Netflix, a direct competitor, runs on Amazon's servers.
So they're the landlord of the digital economy.
Every time a startup grows, Amazon gets a cut. They've substituted ownership of assets with access to infrastructure. It's essentially a private tax on the growth of the internet.
And it's sticky. It's really hard to move your entire company off AWS once you're on it.
Incredibly sticky. And that revenue is incredibly secure.
Which leads us perfectly into layer 4. Logistics. Gave the stuff to your house. But I still see the UPS truck. They didn't wipe them out.
No, and this is a nuanced point in the source. Amazon rarely destroys industries outright. They just make them less strategically important. They substituted external optionality with internal dominance.
External optionality. Break that down for me.
For a long time, Amazon was vulnerable here. They relied on UPS, FedEx, the Postal Service. If UPS went on strike, Amazon stopped. That's an external option they couldn't control.
So they just built their own.
And they went big. Fulfillment centers, last-mile vans, their own Air Force. By vertically integrating, they made UPS and FedEx, well, just backup options.
Overflow valves for Christmas.
Exactly. The logistics firms didn't vanish, but their power over Amazon did. They don't need them to survive, but UPS and FedEx increasingly need Amazon's volume.
And for sellers, that Prime badge is a logistics contract, right?
Crucial point. If you want that Prime checkmark, which can double your sales, you must use Amazon's warehousing and shipping. You have to put your stock in their cage.
So they substituted the entire third-party logistics industry with FBA. I'm seeing the pattern. Take the thing you rely on, a server, a truck, a bookshelf, and build a better version until the original is irrelevant.
Or at least subservient to you.
Okay, layer 5, advertising. The advertising funnel. This one really hit me because I work in media.
This is a massive shift. Think about the old model. How did you buy something?
Okay. I see a commercial on TV. That's awareness. Or maybe I search on Google. Then I go to a store to buy it.
Right. Brand to Google to customer to store.
Yeah.
A fragmented chain. Amazon collapsed that entire funnel into one single environment.
A collapsed funnel.
On Amazon, discovery, comparison, purchase, and review all happen in the same place. You don't search Google for batteries anymore. You start your search on Amazon.
Which means the advertising budget moves. If I'm Duracell, why am I paying for a TV ad when I can just pay Amazon to be at the top of the search result?
Exactly. The source calls this point-of-purchase influence. Brands are no longer paying for broad persuasion. They're paying to cut in line. They are renting visibility inside the store they're selling in.
That is profound. You're not just paying rent to be on the shelf. You're paying extra to have your product at eye level. And Amazon controls the tax on that visibility.
And that rent is pure profit. They substituted the external ad ecosystem, Google, TV, print, with an internal one. It's one of their fastest growing revenue streams.
Okay, this brings us to the last layer, layer 6, which I think is the most abstract, but maybe the most important, the substitution of trust.
This is fascinating sociologically. Historically, trust was institutional.
Right. You trusted a bank because it had marble columns.
Yeah.
You trusted a product because a critic you respected reviewed it, or the brand had been around for 100 years.
Amazon substituted that institutional trust with platform trust, or more specifically, algorithmic trust.
The stars.
The stars. Reviews replaced professional critics. Seller ratings replaced brand reputation. The A to Z guarantee replaced the reputation of the individual retailer.
It's true. I realized I don't even look at who the seller is anymore. I just look for the 4.5 stars and the Prime logo.
Exactly. You trust the platform, not the merchant. Amazon substituted the relationship you had with the brand with a relationship with their algorithm. Trust is now just a data point they manage.
So we've gone through 6 layers: retail, publishing, cloud, logistics, ads, and trust. When you zoom out, this isn't random. There's a clear playbook. The source calls it the pattern behind the pattern. What are the steps?
It synthesizes into 5 clear steps, and once you hear them, you see them everywhere. Step 1, enter as a participant, just start selling books, look harmless.
Okay.
Step 2, aggregate activity, get everyone coming to you, lower prices, better service, build the gravity. Then step 3, build infrastructure, warehouses, servers, data centers.
Make your operations better than anyone else's.
Step 4, control visibility, use the algorithm to direct traffic. And the final step, step 5, monetize dependency.
Monetize dependency. That's the end game.
That is the goal, because once you control the infrastructure payments, shipping, ads, hosting even becomes operationally impossible. The source calls it systemic leverage.
It's sticky. It's not just I like Amazon. It's I cannot function without Amazon.
If a seller relies on Amazon for everything, they aren't competing with Amazon. They are inhabiting Amazon. Dependency has replaced competition.
So if that's the history, let's look at the future. Because the deep dive ends with a look at AI. Amazon sees it as just another layer to substitute.
The source calls this the AI extension. And it's fascinating. Everyone is focused on the chatbots, but Amazon is looking at the plumbing, the infrastructure again.
Oh, of course.
We're seeing Amazon explore an AI content marketplace. AI needs data to train on. Right now, that's a messy legal battle. Publishers are suing AI companies for stealing articles to train their bots.
Right, the New York Times versus OpenAI. It's a mess.
Amazon is positioning itself to solve that by becoming the intermediary. Imagine a marketplace where publishers license their content to AI developers through Amazon's infrastructure.
Oh, wow. So they become the broker. They substitute the direct connection between content creators and AI models.
Exactly. The source uses a great phrase. Training data becomes marketplace inventory, and content becomes cloud fuel.
Content becomes cloud fuel. That is a chilling but brilliant image. So just like with Kindle, they want to sit between human knowledge and artificial intelligence.
Correct. They aren't just hosting the AI on AWS. They want to intermediate the knowledge supply chain that feeds it. It's the same pattern all over again.
This really changes how I look at their press releases. It's never just a new feature, it's a new layer of the ecosystem.
A new layer of infrastructure. And that brings us to the takeaways, because this isn't just about admiring Amazon, it's about learning.
Right. So for leaders, the takeaway is that power comes from controlling system layers, not just winning individual battles. Don't just sell more widgets, control the shelf the widgets sit on.
And what about for entrepreneurs? The source has a stark warning. If you don't own distribution, you risk becoming inventory.
Oof. Risk becoming inventory. That hits hard.
It should. If your business relies entirely on someone else's platform, you aren't a player. You're stuck. You need to build your own direct relationships.
And for creators, we talked about authors.
Platforms empower, absolutely. But remember, they also reposition control. You are trading human gatekeepers for algorithmic ones. You need to understand how that algorithm works, or you're flying blind.
So the big summary here is that Amazon rarely destroys industries. They just make them structurally dependent. Retail, publishing, logistics, they all still exist, but they operate through Amazon's lungs.
That's a great way to put it.
So as we wrap up, we always like to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, something to chew on.
I'd go back to that closing reflection from the source. We frame Amazon's strategy as expansion, but that's just the surface. The deeper mechanism is substitution. They don't just scale businesses, they redesign who controls them.
So the question for you is this. Look at your own industry, your own business. Are you building your own infrastructure? Are you the player? Or are you slowly, quietly becoming part of someone else's inventory?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Until next time.